Rebelle Rally is the first women's off-road navigation rally raid in the U.S. In competition over 8 days and usually in the neighborhood of about 2,000 kilometers. Now, of course, it is not a race for speed, but we have different elements, including headings, hidden checkpoints, time and distance, using maps, compass, and roadbook. No GPS. Everything GPS that you may have on you is locked away in security or is disabled.
Wow.
Or strictly map and compass.
So we were the first Western Canadian team and the third ever Canadian team.
Warning. The 4x4 Canada podcast contains discussion about exploring mountains, camping beside lakes, and enjoying the outdoors. Guests also talk about jumping race trucks side by side, racing 1,000 horsepower rigs across mud pits, and jumping monster trucks over stacks of buses. None of this is for the faint of heart. The 4x4 Canada podcast is not responsible for bringing out your inner adrenaline junkie or making you want to get out there and explore the back roads from coast to coast. The 4x4 Canada podcast is not responsible for broken parts due to jumping your vehicle, hitting mud poles too hard, crossing deep streams, and doing other dumb shit. However, we will take credit for inspiring you to explore mountaintops, spend quality time outdoors with your friends, or meeting new like-minded people, and most importantly of all, following your dreams.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 4x4 Canada podcast. I'm your host, Trisha.
And I'm your host, Wes.
And we are Toy Divas, Lisa Tuff and Sue Chapin.
Thanks for joining us tonight, Lisa and Sue. This is going to be a fun episode. I remember we talked with one of you a little bit over a year ago, and we had so much fun. It was just so much laughter and stuff like that. And I know that Trisha's been really interested in the Rebelle Rally. So we've both been really looking forward to this episode. We'll get into it in a second, but I do want to remind our listeners that if you do enjoy listening to us, to please share with your friends, let them know. And if you do have anything that you want to hear, whether you want to hear from a certain person or if you want to come on the show as a guest yourself, to let us know. Hit us up on Instagram, throw us a message on Facebook or on our website at 4x4canadapodcast.com. And we've got a lot of really interesting guests coming up. Of course, we have Sue and Lisa here. They've done the Rebelle Rally. Coming up next week, we have Nicole McCrossan. She's a third-generation off-road racer out of Ontario, and she races a Bronco over there. And what else do we have coming up there, Trisha?
We have Choyan Off-Road Recovery coming on with us out of Ontario. And we have another lovely female coming up as a guest as well. I'm excited about. It's just a Jeep girl out of Ottawa. So we've been a couple weeks.
Yeah, we're trying to mix it up a little bit this year too with some more racing events and different, not just overlanding events. So we've got Kyle Walton coming up. He's quite involved with the mega truck racing out of Alberta, and he's coming up in February. And we've got the Island Off-Road Race Association, Dave Hamilton. He's coming up in February as well. So we're trying to mix it up and let us know what you guys think. Are you guys enjoying the racing stuff? Are you guys enjoying the YouTube stuff or talking to the manufacturers? We have some really neat companies coming up as well too. So looking for your feedback, but I'm super excited about all these interviews coming up, especially Lisa and Sue. Toy Divas, Rebelle Rally. The Rebelle Rally is such an interesting event. And Trisha and I have been talking about it for a while, and she is so excited to talk to you ladies because you have done it, what she's been dreaming of. And that goes for a lot of our listeners as well. You ladies have done what our listeners are dreaming about. So before we get into that, together you are Toy Divas, and you've participated in the Rebelle Rally 3 times together. Right. And we'll put it in the show notes, but our listeners can follow you at cantoydivas.com and Toy Divas on Facebook and Instagram. And from my understanding, you were the first team from Western Canada to participate in the Rebelle Rally, correct?
That is correct. So we were the first Western Canadian team and the third ever Canadian team.
There was another Western Canada girl, Penny. She actually competed with a mixed team with the US partners, but we're the official first team.
So, for our listeners that have heard about the Rebelle Rally, but they don't really know, they've heard about it, they've seen it in the media, but they don't really understand it. What is the Rebelle Rally?
The Rebelle Rally is the first women's off-road navigation rally raid in the US. In competition over 8 days and usually in the neighborhood of about 2,000 kilometers.
Wow.
Of course, it is not a race for speed, but we have different elements, including headings, hidden checkpoints, time and distance using maps, compass, and roadbook. No GPS. Everything GPS that you may have on you is locked away in security or is disabled.
Wow.
Or strictly map and compass.
I was telling one of my coworkers about that today, and I mentioned that your cell phones are locked away for the 8 or 9 days.
Yep.
And she's, I couldn't do that. Just that part she couldn't do. Some people may find it nice and relaxing, but
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I think that was one of your questions was, how does this make you feel? And for me, it's a luxury because I run my husband's company from home. So I'm usually tied to the phone all the time. So normally when we hit Rebelle time and it's locked away, I'm like, oh, that's amazing. That's wonderful. That's fantastic. I feel great. That being said, when you have things arise, like our rookie year in 2020, we left Canada during COVID year. And my granddaughter was due before I left, and she still hadn't had her by the time my phone was taken away. As much as I love not having it on, it was really hard not knowing. But Emily is an amazing person, and the family reached out to the Rebelle, and Emily came over and said, "You have a granddaughter, and she's fine." And I could just go, "Okay, good. I can relax now."
that is awesome. That is great. I've heard a lot of really neat things about her, and I met her at the BC Overland Rally here later on this summer. And just an incredible person. I took some of the mapping courses that she did at the Overland Rally, and just an incredible person. Getting back to the rally itself, you basically are with it's female only, correct? And there is, from my understanding, you are basically camping or tenting with all these ladies. And explain a typical day, how the day starts right up to the very end of the day.
We have usually anywhere from 2 to 4 base camps. And a base camp will usually have a very large tent where everybody can go and do their plotting first thing in the morning. And it's a gathering area. 5 o'clock in the morning, she's out with the cowbell, making sure that you're up. You start your plotting immediately, depending on your time that you start. So this last year, we had the most ever competitors with 65 teams. So those that left, I think we had 4 time slots. So every 15 minutes from 5 a.m., you could get your coordinates for the day that you would plot. So if you were the first 20 off the line, first 15 off the line, you would get your coordinates first thing at 5. Then you had to wait if you were after that to get your coordinates. And in the meantime, there's a few maps on the wall with maybe some roads marked on it or areas that you aren't supposed to go that day. So you want to make sure that's all on your map. So it's a lot of information. And then at 6 a.m., they have the driver
Mandatory meeting. Yeah. So she will give you
speed limits for the day.
She will tell you of certain areas you've got to watch out for. She will remind everybody again, this is not a race. This is a rally. You want to get your third teammate to day 7. So be smart in your driving. What we call deactivations, they call them G-outs. It's where water rushes, and same thing as a deactivation. You hit one of those too hard and it can do a lot of damage. Drivers meeting, that's usually what it is. It's telling you about that and where not to go and watch out for tortoises in Mojave and things like that. But it isn't mandatory. And if you're not there, you're in big trouble.
So you get your map, and you have to set out. And from my understanding, you have to find these checkpoints along the way, correct? And from our conversation last year, I do remember that there's some variations in the different checkpoints. Can you explain those to us?
Yeah, there's 3 levels of checkpoints like you would find at a ski hill. So there's your green checkpoint, your blue checkpoint, and your black diamond checkpoint. So the green checkpoints are usually your mandatory. They're worth the most, but they're also mandatory. They want to keep you on the path. So they want everybody to check in. Also, they act as bulletin boards. So if something has happened through the course of the day that wasn't expected, there could be a bulletin at that green that you want to make sure that you get that information, because anything can happen while you're out there.
Yep.
Blues, there will be anywhere from a pole with a Rebelle sticker on it that is spray painted blue to a lovely blue flag. The greens all have huge green flags on them. You can usually see them almost a kilometer away. The blue flags, you have to be probably closer, at least 500 meters if it's a flag. If it's a pole, you have to be basically right on it to see it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the black checkpoints, there's nothing there. So you just have to know that you are in the right spot. According to your map, you had to go around that curve, and it was 1.25 kilometers from that curve to that point. And you click your tracker and you cross everything that you've got it. Because sometimes you were given coordinates, sometimes you weren't. You were giving a heading and distance.
Mm-hmm.
So you click and you have your coordinates. And unless you take the time to plot out where you believe that spot was and match that to the coordinates you've been given, then you don't necessarily know.
So so coordinates and just mapping. Either the two.
Yeah. And then Emily threw in the X checkpoints a couple of years back now. Now, instead of having 1, 2, 3, 4 all the way to 23 or 35, you could have 2X, 5X,
6X, 7X, 8X.
So you don't know. It's like you plot them all in the morning. So if you have 35 checkpoints, but in reality, you have more than 35 because there's some X checkpoints, and you have about an hour and a half to plot all of those on whichever of the maps, because sometimes we're working with 5 maps in a day. So
that's the part that I found really interesting in talking with you ladies and other ladies that have done it, and talking with Emily, and that is the vast amount of mapping. Like, I'm pretty good at mapping, I thought, until I started listening to you guys. Because I've got the basics. And even when I took her course at the BC Overland Rally, I thought I was okay, but she's throwing stuff at us that I never considered. And so when you're given these coordinates, are you given like a longitude and latitude? And basically
Correct.
you got to find that.
Correct.
So you've got a map, you mark out where that longitude and latitude is, and you've got to be within a foot of that kind of idea, right?
yeah.
Yeah. And then how are some of the other ones marked out? Are they always longitude and latitude, or is there other things thrown in there?
There's longitude, latitude. Right now, so far, we're waiting for the third one to hit, but usually written out in 2 different ways.
Yes.
So it's your degrees,
Second.
minutes and seconds,
Yeah.
or degrees, minutes and decimal. So then sometimes there could be converting or not. You can flip your ruler because we have minutes on one side and decimal minutes on the other side. So that's a nice little plus with our lovely rulers we'll do a plug, Map Tools. Great. And then there's also a heading and distance. So it could be 285 degrees from CP 15 at 15 kilometers.
Mm-hmm.
You go to CP 15. Maybe it's plotted. It's changed over the years. Our green CPs used to be plotted. Last year, they were not. So we had to plot everything, including our greens, and hope that they're correct because the green ones are the mandatory ones.
Mm-hmm.
the most
If
important.
CP15 happened to be a green mandatory, you had to plot it and then take your heading and distance from there and hope for the best.
That's one question though, too, is if you make a mistake on one and you're plotting from that one,
Yeah.
by the time you go 10 down the right, you could be way out, roughly, right?
Usually there's not a lot, like on a day, she might do maybe 5 that are heading in distance.
hmm
So it's pretty easy to tell once you've done all the other coordinates. If that one's way out, you replot it
Yeah,
because you
check
go, why would we be going all the way there and coming back? Unless she said, oh, by the way,
in the driver's meeting.
there's one that you have to go out about 10 kilometers
Right.
and then you have to come back to course, which happens.
Yes, it does. And it's nice when she says that. And then you're like, okay, so that explains that. And then when she goes, you can do 80 kilometers on that road, you go, yes, no, it's a good road. And you're going to be able to get there and get back. No problem. But that doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
So which one of you is the driver and which one of you is the navigator?
I'm the driver. And this
Okay.
is Lisa. It's because you're not looking at me. It's Lisa, the driver.
And I am Sue and I am the navigator. And unlike some teams, we do not switch off.
I was just going to ask that. So do you guys switch or do you keep those roles for the last 3 years? See,
Yeah.
And the same going into year 4.
Yeah, it'll be the same going into the next year. I would say to anybody who wants to be the driver thinking you're going to get off scot-free, baby, no. You are going to learn the navigation right along with your navigator because our rookie year, I am not that person that told people like, oh, right, we're going to go north and it's this way. I go, where's the sun? Oh, crap. The thing. So I had to work very hard to be a good support person for her. And I would say by year 2,
And she did great.
by year 2, I felt like I could support her. And then Sue decided to take a year off. So then I was a navigator for a year. And my driver thought she wasn't going to be learning it. And I went, no.
Incorrect. You're learning with me.
Because that's the biggest thing with the Rebelle. You are a team. And as a driver, you're supporting your navigator. And the navigator is supporting the driver. So it's really a team effort. And I think that's my biggest thing is like both of you learn the navigation, get the basics and work at it. It may be hard, but it's worth it.
And at least learning how to use a compass, because a huge portion of the Rebelle is time management. So just to have that person who is able to leave the car quickly, who doesn't have a lot of maps and stuff in front of them. And like Lisa was fantastic. So she would confirm what direction we should be heading. I should read it back. We confirm it. She'd get out. She'd take a heading and go in, should be that way. And she goes, no, it's not that way. It's this way. And I go, okay, let me check again. And going, no, you're right. There was a road there that was not on my map. So what in reality can be a portion of what you're seeing, but not necessarily all that you're seeing, which we found out on day 7 this year.
What happened on day 7?
Emily tries to raise the stakes every year for those people that have been doing it for 8 and 9 years. She wants to challenge everybody. We felt really bad for rookies that came in 2023 because as she was raising it up, these rookies had to come into this raised game. In day 7, we were given a beautiful map of Glamis, the huge imperial sand dune complex down by San Diego and Yuma. And I've plotted everything out. I have a beautiful 50,000 map that I'm using. And we're going down to this green mandatory checkpoint. And we're going, it should be here. We should be seeing this. So we go up by the canal about 3 kilometers. Nope. Come back the 3 kilometers, go 3 kilometers the other way, come back again. And we're going, there's what's going on. This is hinky. And we saw some vehicles cross over the canal. And we went, whoa.
Actually, we bought information first.
That's true. We did buy information, so buying information, what we use to score, what they use to find out where we are for scoring is a yellow brick tracker. And when you believe you're at your green or your blue or your black, you signal with your yellow brick tracker. So that sends the signal back to the scoring, and then it's tabulated off from there. If you are not where you think you are and you're way out, it's going to cost you 10 points. Although, if you're really lost, 10 points is nothing, because now you're wasting fuel, you're wasting time. 10 points gets you back to where you need to be, at least back to a place where you knew you were. So back to your next checkpoint, and you just don't know how to get there. So we said, there's something hinky here. We bought the information, we plotted it out, went, whoa, the canal is about 2 kilometers west of us on our map where we just plotted. We're in the middle of desert. So we're going, but the canal is right here. We can see the canal. So what she had given us was an old map of Glamis that did not have the new aqueduct canal.
Tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now throwing in stuff that you think it ain't.
And the thing is too, is that I think we made that green within less than 10 minutes.
Oh yeah.
So we were pretty, because you don't want to miss that green, because missing that green.
Oh my gosh. All right. Yeah. So the other thing with the greens that they're being mandatory, they're also stage markers. If for whatever reason you are late to the green, you are on your CPs along with your coordinates. There are also open and close times for all of the CPs. The green ones are of most importance. If you are late for a green, anything that follows after that green, you cannot get any points on.
Until your next green, or if you have no more greens, you're done for the day, and you just go to base camp and collect base camp. If there are any points to base. Yeah, it hurts. Missing anything because of a timing issue hurts so much.
We thought we had missed a green, so we just went to the next green and realized we actually got the green.
Yep. Because we were less than a minute late.
We were 15 seconds late for the green. So we thought, we're done.
Yeah.
Go to the next green.
Yeah. But it was
so you missed all those ones in between.
Right. It was. Our goal going into this year
was not missing any green.
No greens missed. We wanted everything. We wanted those. All we wanted. And we attained it. We actually did not miss a base camp. We did not miss a green. We are so happy.
So you guys are obviously great friends, and you remain great friends after every event, because you go
we're
back
still friends.
again.
That was everything. We're still friends.
Because I know that I've gone across town with people in my vehicle, and I want to kill them after 15-minute ride because of directional issues or whatever. So you obviously work very well together. You guys have trained well together, but you're in the same vehicle. You guys are together for 7, 8, 9, 10 days in the middle of the desert. How do you do that?
Easy.
I feel that we are very fortunate.
Yeah.
Because I only live about 10 minutes away from Lisa.
Yeah.
And we are friends. Last year was our 10-year friendiversary.
Yeah.
So we do know each other. We have been friends for a while.
We did the Rebelle and we stayed friends.
We did. 2020 was a challenging year in a lot of ways, but the biggest thing is communication.
Yeah.
So you keep the communication, and if you don't talk things out, we found there was a couple of days that we both handle stress and disappointment the same, very similarly.
I'm the crier. I saw and I'm like, yeah, okay, I need to pull over because I need to cry.
Let's but we're both very quiet and we turn things introspective.
Mm.
So this is one of the things that the Rebelle is absolutely amazing for. It will pick out your flaws and I hate to say force, but put you in scenarios where you cannot run away.
Mm-hmm.
If you're used to getting so overwhelmed that you leave, you can't run away. You cannot leave. You have a teammate and you've spent a lot of money doing this event. So you're not able to run away. You've got to put your big girl panties on and figure out how you're going to work with your teammate to cross that finish line on day 7.
Yeah. And if you say something like we had this year, one of the only time is there was a miscommunication. There was something said and it came out completely wrong. We're all human. It's going to happen.
Yep.
And
Yep.
then things went a little bit sideways and things were said. But by the end of that night, we had one of our good friends, Chris. She's okay. You two need to sit down because you need to figure out what's going on and you need to get it out and talk about it and say, hey, when you said this, I took it as this. Oh my gosh, no, that's not what I meant at all. Things she was saying, you have to communicate.
Yeah.
The teams that fall apart are the ones that cannot communicate. You don't have to be friends and just met each other after the rally, but you need to communicate to get to the finish line because that's the goal of the rally is Emily wants to see everybody, no matter how you scored. She wants to see every vehicle and every team come across that finish line in Glamis. And without communication, it's not going to work.
It's interesting that you mentioned about being stuck in a vehicle and you got to talk it out. My mom told me a story a while ago, probably about 10 years ago now, because dad being a manly man doesn't talk about feelings or whatever, right? Just quiet, right? Broods or whatever. And I'm the same way a bit, but she actually told my ex this, go for a drive, take him out for a drive. Then he's stuck in a vehicle with you for an hour or two. He's got to talk. So she actually told my ex this to help for us to communicate as a couple, right? But she's like, if you're stuck in a vehicle with him for an hour, he's eventually going to say something.
This wasn't my first foray. My husband and I had started doing driving excursions. We had driven down to San Francisco. We did the whole coast of British Columbia and Vancouver Island. One of our first trips was to Ireland. And he did the driving, and I basically said, let's go this direction. And I'm just looking out for signs and saying, okay, this is the turn here for where we want to go. And that was a turning point in our relationship, was our Ireland trip. And when you are stuck in a vehicle for a certain amount of time with a person, it's either going to help your communication or it's going to blow everything up. So lucky enough, we're still together. So it worked for us because we realized, communication. Yeah, communication works really well.
I was listening to a podcast back, I think around just before Christmas, and a lady was mentioning that her partner ended up getting sick before the event. So she put the shutout to other people, or the Rebelle people, I guess, said, hey, I need a partner. And then she ended up having a partner from a whole nother country join her. They met at the Rebelle Rally. And to me, just hopping into a stranger vehicle and doing a 7-day trip with just having met the person just then, that just absolutely blows my mind. I think it's absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
There's communication breakdowns, there's language breakdowns, and it just, to me, that is just a really interesting way of doing it. Not something I would recommend for everybody, but definitely an interesting way of doing it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's throw it back to the beginning. How did you ladies become involved with the Rebelle Rally?
It's her fault.
That's my fault. So in 2018, I got my Tacoma. So that's the vehicle we take with us. It's a 2017 Tacoma. And Fresh Mod got a bumper because we couldn't decide on a bed rack for a tent. We go down, we go to B Corps. And who do I meet? But Emily. And she just inspired me in so many ways. I took her ladies only courses. And then I did the driving technical course and their trail run and everything. And just really resonated with me. And I was ready to sign up right then and there. But I didn't have a navigator, and I'm not brave enough to just put my name out there and meet somebody the day of. I'm friendly, but I just don't know about that.
Yep.
Some people swear by it. Not so much. So I left B Corps with the dream of the Rebelle started. And Sue and I were singing in a quartet, and I talked her ear off I talked all the ears off for a while.
It got really bad in April, though, in 2019. It's almost 6, 7, 8, 9 months later.
Yeah. And she says, you know what? I'd be your navigator. And
I think I could do that.
And I'm like, okay. So by this point, 2019, and B Corps came along again. And then Amy and Emily asked me to do some trail runs. So I did the ladies' trails runs for them. And I came home and we're talking about it. And she's, yep, we're doing it. We're going to do it. We're going to do it.
No, we signed up for doing training.
No, you said we were going to do it.
Oh, okay.
See, it's always, and came home. We were like, yeah, we want to do this. And then we were like, let's do a test trip. And then we get this information thing saying, whoa, dune training. And I'm going, oh my gosh, we're going to be in the dunes. I'm terrified. I have never driven in sand before.
Where do we drive in sand in British Columbia?
Not very many places.
Nowhere. We did find one spot, though.
Yeah. So we ended up signing up for that course. And this was our test trip. So we were like, if we can't handle each other for driving all the way down to Glamis Sand Dunes, doing the training and drive all the way back up, then maybe this isn't a good thing to spend $20,000 on. And we went and we did the training. We met a whole bunch of rebels that were going to compete that year. We had an amazing time. We had there was so much learning in there, and we were fired up. So we're like, yep, we drove home. By the time we got back to Kelowna, we were like, we're signing up. And we were actually the very first team to sign up for 2020. Literally, it just barely hit online that it was open, and Sue has registered.
Nice.
And then they called us and said, how did you know? They said, we just been checking it every day.
And the rest is history.
And the rest is
That's wonderful. So obviously there's a bit of a learning curve when you're talking about the mapping, especially. I know that I would have a huge learning curve with that. What did you guys do to prepare for the Rebelle Rally? Not only in the mapping area, but also in regards to driving and recovery, etc.
The Rebelle Rally actually offers Rebelle U, which is now it's way more expanded than when we started out, but they have both driving and navigation courses. The Rebelle Rally itself, when you sign up, you get access to their wonderful database, and they actually have a beautiful instructional navigation course right there. They have materials for you, how to do a heading and distance, how to plot coordinates. Really beautiful. They now have 2-day extensive navigation courses at certain locations in the US. And of course, they have their dune training, and they also have a session now at Ridgecrest, California. It's the Spangler OHV there, close to Ridgecrest. And that's one of their favorite spots now as well for both driver training, more rock crawling sort of a situation there, but for driver training and as well as navigation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I just saw a release where they are talking about doing some training in Canada this year as well, too, right? What's that all about?
After a while, we were very fortunate to get in with Christopher Walker and Overland Training Canada when we first started in 2020. So we got to do a couple of years with them in 2020 and 2021. They offered a course in 2022, but nothing this past year. So they've been very awesome at picking up Emily's torch and trying to bring Rebelle into Canada. So we're super stoked about that Rebelle U is a really good Rebelle U is going to come to Canada, and that is going to be the trials.
Yeah.
Because that's just been the last couple of years. I think it started in 2022.
This is the first launch of, it's called the trials. So it'll give you a day in the life of a rally. So you'll have a day where you're going to do your checkpoints, plotting them on the map, doing heading and distance. There's going to be road books. That's one thing we haven't talked about is there's another challenge with Rebelle. There's en route, which are precise times. And then there's the time where you have to hit this spot within 5 seconds of your time to get full points. And then from there, it gets less. So the trials will encompass all of those in a 1-day section. And then this is where it gets tricky because we don't know, other than that's the only concrete thing I know about the Canada trials. And I know it's going to happen on July the 14th, but as to how much navigation training, if it's going to be another day, is it going to be, we don't know anything like that right now. So
we had Chris on a while ago, Chris Walker from Overland Training Canada. And to our listeners, if you have not heard that episode, that was an incredible episode. Chris is world renowned in training for driving and recovery and all that. He is the leader on the driver training courses for the Overland Expo events down in the States. He is quite involved with the Rebelle Rally. We talked about the Rebelle Rally quite a bit. And also he's quite involved with the Trans-Global Car Expedition, which is a whole nother event where there's a group of people going from basically north to south pole around, not going around the equator, but going the other way kind of idea. So to our listeners, if you haven't heard that episode with Chris, he's such a nice guy and he's just got so much experience and so well regarded in the industry. And I know that you have worked with him with some of the training as well too in the past.
Training with him.
Yeah, really neat guys.
So going back to the courses and the navigation courses and mapping, driving and dunes and sand and whatnot, what about recovery courses? Because I'm assuming you're both driving, have your rig, everyone has a different vehicle. I'm assuming things happen, right? You're going to break down, might have to change a tire, whatnot. Do they also include recovery courses for that kind of stuff?
No.
No?
And there's a reason for this.
Okay.
Emily designs the course that if you're driving smart, you're there to unstuck yourself. You're not there to recover yourself. So you should not be driving into something you can't predict.
Like a witch's eye.
Like a witch's eye or something like that. Or if you blindly drop off a face. She tries for nothing like that to happen.
Okay.
That being said, Richard with Freedom Recovery, he did, aside from the Rebelle, he did do that. And we have helped in the dunes recover other teams that were stuck. So we just used soft shackles and a kinetic rope and we were good to go. But for us personally, the last few years, the most we've had to do is bring out our
shovels,
tracks and shovels and get ourselves out. Like we don't get ourselves, hopefully we never will, into a situation where we need to be recovered.
We didn't use our max choice one this last year.
No, you didn't. I just realized it.
It's you.
That's awesome. And I know from past and just following the rally itself that there are people there that if vehicles need maintenance or whatever, there is people there who would work on it at the end of the day, overnight. So you're off and going the next morning, right?
Oh, you're talking mechanical?
Yeah,
Mhm.
So MacGyver and
They have a world-class, outstanding mechanics crew that is part of the Rebelle. And
you are each day you're allowed 2 hours of mechanics. And this isn't stuff that you went to the Rebelle, like, oh, I had this weeping, whatever. No, you're not there to fix that.
Yeah.
They're there to help you if something breaks on the rally.
Yeah.
And they will move, honestly, heaven and earth to get you back on course. It may cost you points if it's going over that 2-hour allotment today. So Nick and his crew,
they fix broken axles.
I know. I saw
On
a lot of
course.
videos. Yeah.
Well, when you see it, you go, oh. And next day, those guys are working all night.
Mhm.
As soon as that vehicle is in there and they assess the situation, they are working on that sucker all night long. And they want to their goal is to get that team back on course, back to the start line, to get over the finish line on day 7.
Yeah. And we can't forget to mention too, it's not you go take your vehicle to them, drop the keys and go say, fix it, see you tomorrow. No, one person, usually the driver, has to stay with the vehicle until it's done. If that's all night, it's all night.
Makes sense. Yeah, fair enough.
Oh.
Yeah.
You can take off teammates. One person takes so long while the other person brings them dinner.
Yeah.
And then the other person goes and grabs a couple hours of sleep. Then the next person goes and takes off and is there until it's done.
Let's talk about that dinner, sleep, and shower situation.
Yeah. Facilities. What are you guys using for facilities? That's what I'm interested. Like how you should like.
Lots of porta potties.
Okay.
Yeah. If you don't want to stand in a huge lineup to use a flush toilet, which is like an RV flush toilet, so minimal water usage, you can use an outhouse, because that's what I do, because I can't be bothered to sit in the lineup for 20 minutes, half an hour. She usually brings in, there's 4 to 8 shower houses. And she says, please use it sparingly, because you figure you had 65 competitors times 2. Then you have all the staff, which are over 150, 170 or whatever. They're all using those same things. So when I say shower, what shower? I seriously mean it. I have a shower the Friday night before the next day is our gala, and that's it. And it's called body wipes, baby.
Yeah.
And do you
Body wipes were wonderful.
Body wipes and deodorant. No, makes sense. I think, yeah. Makes total sense.
And then in regards to your sleeping, but also the dinners. From my understanding, they have great food there.
They have a Michelin star chef that cooks for us. 1, 2, 3, 5 nights this past year. That includes gala.
Oh, yeah.
Because we had, this past year was, again, a little bit different. There was another twist. Normally in a year or during the rally, you would have one camp night. So it would be
no amenities,
a marathon basically stage. So there is a spot where they want everybody to gather. And at that point, then whatever you've got, that's it. So you are prepared. You are told ahead of time that this is going to be marathon night.
Oh,
yeah, they have MREs ready for you.
Yeah.
So as long as you've got something that you can boil water with, you're fine.
Yeah.
And of course, you always have to carry 5 gallons of water with you. So that will carry you through for an extra day.
Yeah. Going back on Drew, though, a lot of people say, I've heard Emily say this so many times, been to so many events with her. It's so expensive. It's because you have that chef. And she goes, no, it has nothing to do with that. Because whether she was bringing out Taco Bell or something else to wherever the base camp is, it works out to be the same cost.
Yeah.
Getting stuff in the desert, in the middle of nowhere, is hard.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it costs money. And Drew takes such great care of us. We got breakfast in the morning, coffee, Oliver coffee, Cafe Moto coffee, first thing. And then he'll have a big selection of lunch fixings, snacks and jerky. And occasionally there were sandwiches.
Mountain House.
Oh, yeah. And then when we come into base camp, once we've been through check-in, fuel, mechanics if we need it, get everything into impound and give our keys before an hour after we cross the line, then we can go get food. And pretty much every night it's so welcome. Even though you're not hungry, you're so dog dead tired. You have a plate of food and you're like, I can't eat this. And you eat the whole thing and then you go to bed.
And then it goes over to day 2 and then day 3 and then day 4 and day 5 and then day 6 and then day 7.
And you're tenting this whole time, correct?
Correct.
Ground tent, baby. And nobody sets it up for us. You have to put everything out, put it in the vehicle, take it out of the vehicle, put it in the vehicle, set it out.
We got to use the rooftop twice this year, though.
Yes.
Oh, they did allow you. Okay.
Yeah, on marathon nights.
Only on marathon nights. Because when you come into camp, you have your vehicle is in impound.
Yeah. Gotcha. Couple quick questions. Going back to the 2017 Toyota Tacoma, Great choice. Mine is also a 2017 Tacoma. That's also white. So
Not so stock anymore, though.
no.
Mine is.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to ask you about yours. I know there is everything from stock vehicles right up to modified early Broncos and different things like that, which I absolutely love that Bronco that seems to go every year. One of my
They're very
favorite
good film
rigs.
scores too.
You're talking the
Oh,
69? Yeah,
yes.
the Rolling Colts. We love
And there's
you,
quite a story behind that one too, about it used to be, I was listening to them on a podcast and how it used to be her father's or something like that along that line.
Yep.
And great story behind that one. But so there's a real wide variety of vehicles. And so you got the 2017. I want to talk about that and what you've done for modifications and that on it. But also after that, I want to talk about electric vehicles at the rally, because that is a increasing amount of vehicles with the electric. So let's start off with the Tacoma.
All right. So we call her Cali, short for Caliente, because I've always called her one hot truck. So that came about. And that happened within the first week of having her. I saw her on the lot and I was just like, and he sold me the truck, and you want to know how? He let me drive it off of the stairs and drive it back up onto the stairs. And so I was like, oh, and yeah. So this past season coming into the rally, there was one thing that was bucket list that had to happen for us to compete. And that was she needed upgraded suspension. She came off the lot with the Toy Tech, but we were just finding it was just so hard. Like when you have, I know it sounds so horrible, but when you have a crossover that's passing you because it can go faster in a second of row, that's pretty like gut wrenching. I'm like, this has gotta change. So we went with some Elka 2.5 remote reservoir coilovers, new upper and control arms, heavy duty lead pack in the back, because I do carry a lot of stuff. Like we have the rooftop tent, the rack, and the water and that, all that stuff. And the fridge. Oh, yeah. The fridge is a must. Sorry. Water is essential, especially when it's like $40. So then we did those. And then the last things we did before the rally is we put new Mickey Thompson Baja Boss all-terrains and the Icon Rebound Pro. They're the DOT approved feedlocks. So we put those on there. So that was like the big must have. And it actually was a bit of a bear all the way up to the rally almost, because everything went sideways and nothing got done when it was supposed to. And then other than that, I have the Lightner active cargo system. So I have some pods that kept all her clothes. And then I have another pod that was like some recovery stuff. I also added a new to me, it was gently used, Dex drawer system. So everything was kept nice and low. And so our recovery gear, spare parts, spare fluids, all that was put in there. And then the only other, I shouldn't say, there's actually a front high clearance bumper that was done within the first month of owning it. And then the only other thing on the truck right now is we run all the Vidlumen. And so they supply everything and help us out with the lighting, which really comes in handy. And they're sexy. They look great, but even more than that, they work spectacular. Would never, ever think of not running with them again. The dust storm of 2021,
they saved our bacon. We were in Big Dune, going into Big Dune in Nevada, and that whole area in the Amargosa Valley there were a couple of systems that collided. We had winds during the day that picked up, and then overnight peaking up to 100 miles an hour.
So people say, why do you need lighting? That day it was essential because it was starting to get dust, the dust storm. So I had 360-degree light around me. Of course, if I was coming up to someone, you have to turn it all off.
We missed the blue still, but
we still missed the blue, but that's okay.
Couldn't see it.
Like
it was a whiteout situation. So
yeah,
I was thankful because of Vivid Lumen, we got back to base camp
and nobody flooded.
Yeah, and nobody hit us.
And that's the main thing, getting back to base camp
Absolutely.
In the end.
On a day like that,
and safe.
Yeah. Yeah, Vivid Lumen are definitely a really good quality lights. And I know that they've been working with you for a few years. So what are you thinking of the Elkas versus what you had before? They're a Canadian company. So
Yes. That was huge. It was huge. I was toying with going with Icon, but then when I saw what Elka had, and no, they did not sponsor us. No, they did not help us. I did it because that's one of the things I really love is, for the most part, I like to support Canadian. That being said, of course, CVT and Lightner on the truck, but they help me out as well. But yeah, so Elka, I absolutely am actually really loving them.
They were very lovely. As the passenger in the vehicle, it was night and day from 2021.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Going from 13 kilometers an hour to about 30.
Yeah, we doubled our speed on a lot of the Whoopsons and Jimmys, and it was amazing.
It was fabulous.
Yeah, they're definitely on my hit list. I have been working to get in with them to have a good conversation on the podcast because, we do try and support the Canadian companies as well too. So they are on my list to talk to.
Absolutely.
So
I'm waiting for those hydraulic bump stops to come available.
Yes.
For those moments when we hit a little hard.
That doesn't happen, does it?
Stir up.
So let's hop into those electric vehicles. We talked a little bit with Chris and about the number of electric vehicles is definitely increasing with the rally. And they do an incredible job of bringing a charging system so these vehicles can charge overnight and that. And again, I mentioned earlier, if people have not heard the interview with Chris from Overland Canada training, definitely go back. But would love to hear your thoughts on the electric vehicles out in the desert.
I am absolutely blown away how capable they are.
The Rivian is absolutely amazing. The technology.
It won the rally this year.
Wow. They won the 4x4 class.
Yeah. And Mandy, she was a rookie the same year we were, and she bought the Rivian. So she's one of the only sponsored. She owns it. It's not owned by Rivian.
Privateer.
She's a privateer.
Yeah.
But the Rivian, the Sandstone Legends, I think is their name. They won the rally, and those things are just absolutely so capable.
Technology, power, and everybody goes, oh my gosh, so much weight in the desert.
They did just fine.
Yeah.
It's the technology, how to use it.
Yeah, that was one of my thoughts was how are they in the sand dunes and stuff like that? Because they are a heavy vehicle, right? But
they seem to be doing really well.
They have different modes. Mm-hmm. So put it on sand mode.
Yeah.
Raise it up a little bit. Lower it. You can do,
it doesn't mean that they didn't get stuck. I don't know. I wasn't with Lily, but we did see one of the Rivians didn't get stuck, but they used Mack tracks and a little bit of help and they got out and they were fine.
Yep.
Everybody gets stuck in the dunes. Even the Mustang Mach-E, which is another electric one, it ran out of juice in the dunes. So they came back.
The BMW.
And I think the BMW.
Oh, the BMW did. Oh, no.
I think they got it. Somebody. Anyway, there's so many. It's hard to keep them all straight because
there was a Jeep 4X.
Yep.
That also ran out of fuel. So this was another twist for 2023 was fuel consumption. So Lisa knows her vehicle so well that we had one day where we had a couple of really dramatic hill climbs. And both of them were X roads. So we did the one in the morning. And after that, we had a conversation as to whether we were going to do the second one. And we had our conversation. And she goes, I don't know that we'd have enough fuel to do it. And I said, okay, regular it is. We're going to head this way. Mm-hmm. And there were a couple of teams that ran out of fuel that day.
Yeah.
And in Glamis on day 7, she had us go further down the west side of the dunes than we had ever gone. It was a longer day, further south, further west.
Yeah.
There was a lot of extra kilometers. And it wasn't just
Time constraints.
the electric vehicles. There were others that were running out of fuel. So you've got to watch so many things. But I think they were on fumes coming back. The Rivian, Lily.
Oh yeah. I don't think there wasn't a person who was on the dunes that day that did not get really close or run out of gas. We had the biggest winner. We took 19.6.
19.1 out of a 19-gallon tank.
19.1. Let's go up. Yeah. But as far as I know, they're so capable and they have the regenerative braking that they can do and things like that. They need to know their vehicles. And most of the Rivians and most of the electric sponsored vehicles, they have like their R&D are the ones that are driving it.
Yeah.
So they're learning.
I ended up going on a YouTube hole on the weekend. And while I was sitting here in the minus 30 weather, and I'm like, okay, I checked, something popped up on YouTube with Rivian. And then before I know it, there's an hour gone. I've been watching these Rivian videos and they're an interesting machine. They're very impressive. I knew they're impressive beforehand. There's actual people doing overlanding with them now, and they're getting more and more impressive.
Before they were even put in production, Ewan McGregor and his partner Charlie did long way up from Argentina. The backup vehicles for them, because they wanted to do all electrics, so their bikes were electric, they had Rivians as their backup vehicles. And the biggest thing for them, unfortunately, was the infrastructure.
Yep.
But Rivian, you can plug into your 110 outlet.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
to charge at home.
Their technology is so much different than everybody else. They're amazing. I would love to buy one. Absolutely love to buy one. They are amazing. They will take you anywhere you want to go.
Snaking back to the Rebelle, I know Emily has been the big driving force to get the electric vehicles there. So much so that Innovation Technologies, is it? Innovation Technology, I can't think of it. Oh, anyway, they take care of that, and they've gone leaps and bounds trying to get this to work, and it's getting bigger each year. So it'll be interesting to see what's coming in this year and how many Rivians there'll be and all the rest of the electrics.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's going to be really interesting.
Renewable innovations. That's good.
That
renewable.
So Emily has contracted with Renewable Innovations to supply all of the electric infrastructure. Not only just for the electric vehicles, but also for the base camp.
Okay.
So that we can be as clean as possible when we're out there. So they have, if you look them up, or you can even look at the Rebelle site, they'll show them there with the daisy wheel for solar power that can help regenerate. They use green hydrogen to also help with the fuel cells.
Yeah.
It's amazing infrastructure that she has put together for this event.
Yeah, the fact that it's just almost a small town showing up in the middle of the desert is just absolutely incredible and very eco-friendly. Small town at that, right? Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
My question was finish line and crossing the finish line. What does that day look like?
Oh my gosh.
Tears,
sure tons of different orange
bottles let off. Oh yeah. It's the gambit. It really depends on how your rally was up to that point. If you had a hard time, there's probably going to be lots of tears and lots of hugs.
Yeah.
We like to run up and down and greet everybody depending on when we're in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That does happen a lot. Yeah. And usually at the finish line, I think Emily tries to have a little moment with each and every team as they come across.
That's awesome.
And I think one of the coolest things about the Rebelle is, yes, we're all in a competition together, but if it came down to it, if it was need be, any team would drag another team across the finish line. And that actually happened this year because one of the
top competitors.
One of the top competitors ran out of fuel.
Everything.
Out of everything. She was actually a hybrid. And Mount Subi, she drives a Subaru Forester, I think it is. No, not Forester. Outback. And so Outback. And she pulled Nina across the finish line so that she would not have to get a penalty to get fuel delivered to her.
Wow.
There's a Subaru
Outback.
pull a Jeep 4xe.
Wow.
Yep. And we were all low on fuel.
Yeah.
So if they ran out of fuel,
we followed behind them.
We would pull out front and we would have done a
3-train
into there. But we did without running out of fuel. So
that's one thing with the Rebelle Rally. Everything that I've heard, it's not just the fact that there's a bunch of people going to the desert and doing this event and doing a competition per se. The fact that it's all female based in regards to the competitors. So, and knowing Emily, how of a uplifting spirit that she is, incredible personality and an incredible lady to help bring women together. But from my understanding, it's such an event that there's bonds that are formed for years. And maybe if you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. Our first Rebelle, there was a bond made leaving tech inspection. And that's actually how we met the team, the Roaming Wolves. And they were driving their dad's 69 Bronco. They were on the side of the road and we are the ones who pulled up behind them. And I don't know a lot about mechanics, but it's leaking fuel. So there I am under her Bronco as she's getting spill pads out of the top. Her sister, because at this point we haven't started the competition, so she still had cell service talking to the husband. And Sue's trying to get base camp on that, saying, hey, just letting you know, we're with them. This is what's happening. But things were going all squirrely. So I'm under her truck trying to find where the gas is coming from. And Rochelle's grabbing her pads and Missy's over here and she's talking to Joe. And Sue's trying to get the stupid cell phone to work, the sat phone. And that's how it started. And
because they're an enclosed vehicle, we said, no, if you give us those spill pads, we'll put them in the back of the truck.
Yeah.
We don't want you to suffer from fumigation.
Yeah.
So we threw them back of the truck and we said, we will follow you to base camp.
Yeah.
You go, we will follow you.
And that was the day we became friends. And that the whole spirit of it, they were having problems with, CB, cranky.
Yeah. Yes.
Anyway, the Bronco.
Okay.
We were all sitting in Johnson Valley and they had another hard day. And there was 4 teams, including us, sitting with them, hugging them, encouraging them because they were ready to say, we're done. And then Emily came over and she sat down with us. So anybody who says, what do you mean the Rebelle is life-changing? Yes, it is 100% life-changing because you hardly know these people, but yet you are there to support them, encourage them. And Emily is the first one to support and encourage and she wants the best for everybody. She wants you to grow and learn and have this incredible experience that years ago, there was nothing like this for us women. Mm-hmm. So it's phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And we have lifelong friends that we would never, whether we rebel again or not, they're our lifelong friends.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think it's a different beast competition with females because yes, we're competing, but we also want everybody to do well. And Emily's the first one. If you start the Rebelle, she wants you to finish it. She wants to see you cross that finish line. And I think most of the rest of us are the same way. And we were there with them saying, what, if you have issues, we will just tow you through the course. We'll get the greens, keep you on course, get you across the finish line, and we'll do that. We'll just tow you the rest of the way. We don't care.
Yeah.
And that's what you do.
Yeah, it seems to be a very emotional event in regards to everything I've heard from other participants as well as Emily herself is right. It's something that friendships are born and there's a lot of really good days and there's some not so good days, but everybody sticks it together. And you look at the pictures after the event And it just seems to be everybody's just having so much fun and enjoying themselves. So if somebody is interested in joining the Rebelle Rally, obviously it's an expensive event. There's a lot going on. So there's some financial work there. But what are the steps towards becoming a Rebelle Rally participant?
Believe in yourself. And if the dream is to compete, there's never going to be a perfect time. There will never, ever be a perfect time. If it's something that you believe that strongly in, you can make it happen. So the first thing you do is believe in yourself and then believe in your dream. If you have a partner or not, doesn't matter.
Yep.
Sign up. And there are ways for you to fundraise to help get you there. They have wonderful tools to help you find a teammate if you don't have a teammate. So don't wait for the perfect time because it's never going to happen.
And that's a great way to look at life overall as well, right? It'll never happen if you just keep on waiting for it to happen. And I think you're bang on there. And I know one of the big holdbacks a lot of people think is the mapping. But as you mentioned, the whole Rebelle University, there is so much information. And especially for those people that are remote, especially us out in Canada, there's been people from Ontario and Quebec that have gone down there and done very well. Down in, I believe there was actually a Canadian that has come very close to the top of the podium years ago. I can't remember her name, but
first place 1 year.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. First place 1 year as a Canadian going to the Rebelle Rally. And that was a couple of ladies from Eastern Ontario. And so, I think.
And Elise Rosette.
Yes. And we can do it. Canadians, we can go back again on top.
Penny Dale from BC, she's been on the top of she finished first as well with her US partner.
In extra,
Yeah, exactly. So it's not just an American thing. There has been a number of Canadian teams, and there's teams from all over the world too.
Yes.
That have attended as well. So
6 different countries have competed in the Rebelle so far.
Nice.
Yeah.
Trisha's thinking.
Like I said, there's no perfect time. There is no perfect time. We picked probably the weirdest year to ever think this is going to happen because not only did 2020 was a hard year because our rookie year, but COVID. We had so many hurdles to just get there. We ended up
get Callie down across the line because we couldn't cross the border with the truck.
Exactly. So we had a random Rebelle say, ship the truck to me. I'll hold it. I will even pick you up at the airport when you get here and you guys can drive from here.
Wow.
Or then.
And it happened in 2021 as well.
In 2021, because I still couldn't drive, we had another Rebelle and her husband drive all the way to the border. She walked across, grabbed the truck and went back and then picked us up at the airport.
Because at that time, Americans were able to come to Canada, but we still couldn't drive into the US.
Oh, okay.
So they could get the truck, drive it back.
Yeah.
And again, we had personal door service when we got to Seattle. And there's the truck. We get in the truck and boom, we're on our way.
Wow. That's amazing.
Well, that's those kinds of relationships that happen, right? Because of the Rebelle, right?
Yeah.
Finances is definitely a big thing because it's a lot of money to enter, but it's also a lot of money in fuel going down there and back, etc. And you've had some good sponsors over the year. And I know you've done some fundraising with your calendar. And that's another thing we should mention too, that you guys still have some calendars available, right?
We have a few left.
Few?
Yeah.
So to check them out on Instagram or Facebook or their website at Toy Divas. And you've also done some pub nights and you've had some good donations from companies and that. And let's talk about some of your sponsors that have helped you out.
Yes, it is. I just wanted to mention, yes, it's quite a chunk of change. And no, we don't always know where or how it's going to happen. We are estimating it's going to be about 25,000 this year.
Canadian. Because everything's in US.
Right.
Yes. But like I said, if you're waiting for the perfect time, it's never going to happen. It's just not. We've had a platinum sponsor, so we consider that above and beyond. Tech Petroleum Services, they're on West Kelowna, and then they're also I think they have a branch in Prince George, Kamloops, and what have you. So they've come on board twice as our platinum sponsor. which without them,
We may not have made it.
no. Actually, you know what? Saying that, if we didn't have our sponsors that we had, we would not have made it.
No.
It would have been
100%.
very difficult. First shout out is to ProTech. Sadly, they're not able to help us this year. So we're hoping to find somebody to help fill in their shoes.
Or a
Another,
couple people.
or a couple people, or 10 people.
Three.
I have a big truck.
There's a little bit
There's a
of
lot of
fuel.
space for riding on the truck.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh,
Stuff.
lots of space.
Yeah. So there's ProTech. We've also mentioned Richard with Freedom Recovery Gear. He has been with us every year so far, and he has been absolutely phenomenal. We also talked, he spent time with us to teach us how to use the recovery gear correctly and safely. So shout out to Richard. We have Lightner Designs. This year, whole new active cargo system went down to the States and picked it up from them. That was so amazing. It kept everything so organized. It was great.
It was lovely.
Cascadia Vehicle Tents, they have donated a tent to us twice and to my other team once, so 3 times. And sadly, they're no longer on board. They've switched hands. Okanagan Expedition was one of my first sponsors. He came on. He's a local guy. He does aluminum skin plates. So everything under Cali that is bright pink is his product. And it's all Richard's fault because he started with the pink winch hook.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, Expedition. He's been awesome. If there's ever a problem, he's like the first person to say, hey, no, bring it back. I'll fix it, or I'll give you a new one or whatnot. He actually has our original engine skid. We signed it and it was pink, and we took it because after our second year, the access panel, I hit a dune too hard and it broke the weld. But no questions asked. He helped us out with that. So he has our original, probably hanging in his shop, sign from us. We talked about Vivid Lumen. They've been on board since the very beginning, donating items to auction off, as well as equipping Cali with whatever we need. And if anything new comes out that they think you need this for your truck, they're the first ones to say, hey, come grab this, put it on the truck. Let us see how it goes. Do you want to do something?
Yeah, we've been very fortunate also to have our BC Four-Wheel Drive Association.
Since the beginning.
Right since the beginning, hooking us up with a little bit of cash to get some fuel. Huge shout out to those guys.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a great place to start for anybody, is if you're thinking, go to your Four-Wheel Drive Association. Maybe you'll meet somebody there that could be your navigator or drive or figure something out there.
And they offer so many courses.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like just go to their website. You'll see there are so many awesome
Yeah,
courses.
they just brought out the calendar the other day, and I think they've got 10 or 12 courses this year all over the province.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that up on Facebook
Recovery
the other day.
courses, they will hook you up with recovery courses.
Yep.
So that's a great place to get a recovery course under your belt if you want to. That's basically how we found Richard as well. Part of the Four-Wheel Drive, and also from Chris Walker.
Yeah.
Yes. You go to the people who know and they'll hook you up.
Yep.
It's nice.
Yep.
Wonderful lady at Inspiration to Creation. If we need a decal, somebody doesn't provide us, we've got it on the truck. Just have to say, how big do you want this decal?
Yeah. And she also does our designing. So we've done a couple shirt campaigns and things like that. And she's done designs for that as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, huge shout out. Thanks, Antoinette, with Inspiration to Creation.
I work at the Summerlin Credit Union. They've helped us out with some items for silent auction. And we were fortunate enough last year to get a monetary donation. Crossing fingers for 2024. New sponsor last year, Gear for Overland. Being maybe get a few things from them for 2024 for auction. And then we had West Coast Off-Roaders that helped with the suspension and tires and wheels for Cali this year, which worked out really nicely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then the last, but definitely not the least.
No, this was a special year.
This was a very special year. There was a young man that was killed a year ago in November, and his family have been a huge supporter of the Divas. Like any fundraiser, they're always the first ones there. They also have helped us out with monetary, but we ran this rally for Adam O'Brien, who was killed. That's their son. And
They live right across the street from Lisa.
they do.
So they're neighbors. So this was a very special year for us to compete.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we talk about how you have hard days. Her hard days, she doesn't cry. She never cries. And she looks over at the table and she goes, I let him down today. And I went, are you kidding me? He's having the ride of his life because he's on the hood of the truck.
Yeah.
He sees stuff before we do. So yeah, so he was actually on the Callie's hood this year. Both sides. Picture of him. Nice little
That's incredible.
tribute to him.
Yeah.
And because we won the International Cup, the proceeds are going to
Pathways Ability Society.
Yeah. So
Yes.
if you win an International Cup, you also win $2,500 US to the charity of your choice. So very fortunate now over 3 years to win 3 years. And you're 4 for 4. So me, I've been able to contribute a little over $9,000 to community charities. And Lisa is now about $12,000
Wow.
to community
That's
charities.
incredible. That's incredible.
Yeah. And we love talking about our sponsors because we're not just saying this because they gave us money or they gave us product. Like, seriously, there is no way, absolutely no way we could afford to do this without them either donating product that we can auction off or.
And that's really the whole Rebelle, because if you can get in with a sponsored vehicle and you have some experience driving and or navigating, you get sponsored that way. If you're what they call a privateer like us, you own your own vehicle, you're going to do it for the experience and do it for yourself. Yeah, you have to, it takes a village to get there. So we lean on our community and our village, all our friends and relatives. They support us as well. So you have to just sprinkle your fairy dust everywhere and see where it lands. And hopefully you get some good stuff.
Yeah. And I've had people go, you're so lucky. And I look at them and I went, do you know how many hours for that luck I work? And they're like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. But there are ways. There is absolutely ways. So don't be discouraged about the dollar figure. You will be surprised if you think outside of the box. You can make this happen. And that's part of the Rebelle, getting to the start line and getting to the finish line.
Yeah. There are a lot of teams that do, what is the donation thing? The online donation thing.
GoFundMe?
Yeah, GoFundMe.
Yep. And just even $20 or $100 or $200 from family members or friends, it all adds up.
It's either going to go to gas or whatever equipment rental that you need to do or some basics. And again, you don't have to have a souped up vehicle.
No.
Emily says the vehicle that you have in your driveway is more capable than you think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And one of the last things I do want to mention in regards to if people are looking at the Rebelle Rally is it's not a whole bunch of 20 and 30-year-old fit women. It is a variety of it's a variety of ladies from very fit ladies to
over 70.
Yes, exactly. It's a real, you mentioned earlier that you're a grandmother, so you're looking really good for 40-year-old grandmother, but
I'm going to own it. I'm in my 60s.
Yep. Yeah. And this is my 50th birthday year. So that's why Sue says we are doing one more rally. It's this year. It's your 50th birthday. We're doing it.
Got to do it. Beautiful. Yeah. Yes. And so that age is not a limiting factor. You ladies are proving that.
No.
And that goes for everything in life, whether you're talking about the Rebelle Rally or not. The age is really only a number. And some days the floor is a lot farther away when you bend down to pick up things.
Or depending how tall you are, it's a lot closer.
Exactly. But as a 51-year-old, I think I realize that some days are better than others. But the whole Rebelle Rally, I think, is it's not just for a bunch of young 20 and 30-year-olds. It's ladies of all walks and shapes and ages and everything. So
don't forget that. Yes, we're all different shapes, sizes, age, everything, and skill level. I'm a broken record. Don't let something like that hold you back. Don't let that you don't have a 2017 Tacoma with new suspension and lift and tires and no, you don't need all that.
No, our first year you had a 2017 Tacoma.
With a
No, it was
front
just
you're not,
Oh, we had a winch. Yes.
but we didn't use it. Oh, yes, we did. No, we didn't.
The winch?
Nope, we never did. We've never used the winch.
No.
Not for the
It
Rebelle.
was- No, it was the roaming wolves that used the winch.
They were my dead man when I was slid off a dune.
A
First year.
1969 Ford Bronco makes an excellent dead man.
next time you talk to the ladies, let them know I'm an early Bronco fan, and I totally love their Bronco, and I love the backstory of about it being their
Yeah.
father's Bronco for so many years. So
It's a beautiful story, and they're
Yeah, it is.
beautiful ladies.
Their
Yeah.
hearts are like
Huge.
Rochelle and Melissa
Yep.
are two of the most amazing, wonderful ladies you've ever met in your life. And I'm really hoping that we can compete again together.
Yeah.
But life happens.
Trisha,
Mhm.
once again, I keep on taking over the conversation.
Okay.
I am horrible for that. I am trying to be better. Do you have any other questions for these ladies?
No, I was going to ask our last final question.
You bet.
Okay. So our last question we ask every guest on our podcast is, who would you like to listen to on the 4x4 Canada podcast?
For me, because that's where I got my dream started, I'm partial to Ray and Marianne for BC Overland Rally, or they also sponsor the Northwest Overland Rally. They're very wonderful people. And like I said, the reason why it comes to my mind is because that's where it started for me.
Yep.
What about you?
I have no idea. Richard.
Sure.
I have not. And I've been trying. Richard is a very good friend of mine. He lives about 45 minutes away from me. I just talked to him the other day. And I actually had to give Chris shit because I can never sit down with Richard because he's always tramping all over the world half
Yeah,
the time with
because
Chris Walker. Yeah. And I'm like, Chris, I got to do an intervention here. I need to go spend the night wheeling with Richard, and I still got to get him onto the podcast, but he never has time. So we're talking about Richard from Freedom Recovery Gear. All his ropes are all made in Canada. He does them all. And I definitely, like I say, he is a good friend of mine, and I do want to get him on the podcast for sure. And you mentioned
Right.
Ray and his wife from BC Overland
yes.
Rally. They are wonderful people, but a lot of people don't realize their backstory, how they traveled from England over to China, I believe it was, in a early Land Rover with
Yes.
2 kids, 3 kids, something like that.
Yes. And he loves his rovers. And
Yeah.
the stories that you hear of them and their adventures, fascinating. I would love to hear more.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Trisha, what's holding you back?
For me, it would probably be the vehicle. If I want to put my Jeep through my only baby.
Or that. But actually rent a Jeep
Yeah,
from Follow Adventure.
that's true. That is true. I think it's the
You don't
whole,
represent.
I think it's the whole navigation part. Driving part is not the thing I'm scared of, I guess I can say that. So I think I would be more of a driver's seat person than navigation, just because I don't really have used it.
Here's the thing. If I can learn it, you can learn it. And then
true.
the other thing I have to say to you is if that's what's holding you back, you have 2 Canadian girls that are right here that are there and help you learn the map stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not pressuring you, and I know I put you on the spot, but seriously, if this is something don't let that hold you back.
Yeah.
There are so many people that are behind you. The moment you sign up, you have a whole league of rebels that are ready and waiting to help you.
100%.
Including us.
It would
Absolutely.
And
definitely be
including all our
awesome.
listeners as well. The support that you get
Yes.
from our listeners. They
I was
love you. They love you more than they love me.
And I have to say, I was really surprised when I met Penny Dale because I didn't know that she was a navigator. Because when I saw her, she was driving her Land Rover through the whipsaw in British
Yep.
Columbia.
Yep.
And she absolutely rocked it. So she is not only an incredibly capable driver, but yeah, she's a kick-ass navigator too.
And she had to learn it as well. If you ever talk to her, she will tell you that when she first started, she couldn't. No, she was like, no. She had.
Now, the other thing that she'll also tell you is it's also helped her hit her in her overland travels. The fact that she now has that ability to look at a map, read a map, see a map in 3D, helping her through the terrain to get from point A to point B, which I understand. I don't know if you ever want to go to South America, but I hear that is a real thing when you're down in South America because you don't know. So it's read a map and see the terrain. That's going to go a long way. That seeing the terrain thing takes a while. She's still working on it. I'm just about there, but I still get messed up every so often just by looking at it. But because I'm human. Because we're human. We're all human.
Yeah, we're all human.
But the more you do it,
Right.
the easier it is.
Yeah.
And the quicker you start going, oh. And there's a couple of really good orienteering books out there too that will help you go, oh, so that squiggly line looks like that in real life. And there's all kinds of resources out there.
Yeah, I think the one thing that draws me to it is the whole navigation. I know I'm saying I wouldn't be good at it just because I have never basically used a map, like an actual paper map. And we rely too much on technology these days. But
that's a great way to start, though.
Yeah, but just the whole rally itself and just mapping and coordinating and finding where you are in that part of it and not relying on technology, not relying on GPS, not pulling up my map apps on my phone and navigating that way. It's a totally different experience where it's, you need to just put the world out and shut around and then you're here at this point. So that's what makes me so intrigued on the event itself and hearing you guys doing it and then thinking hey, that'd be so much fun to do.
It's not going to be easy and you're going to have days that are really kooky and you may not call it fun.
Yeah.
But when you look back at it, even if it's 6 days after you've left the rally and you're almost all the way home and you go, I could do that again.
Yeah.
There we go. See, at least I'm lucky because I can go down to Kelowna and meet up with these ladies, which I would love to do one day. So you can show me some of this mapping stuff and go and experience some of that. I think that'd be really neat. I'm lucky that way, but there is Ontario ladies that have been involved as well. And like you say, a great online source and any questions that any of our listeners have about the Rebelle Rally, both of the ladies from Toy Divas, Instagram, Facebook, their website, I know for a fact that they would love to help you with any questions that they have, for sure. So,
absolutely,
Trisha.
Yeah,
sign up on Facebook. Okay. It's the unofficial Facebook Rebelle unofficial book, or what is it called?
Rebelle Rally unofficial.
Rebelle Rally unofficial book
group.
Sorry, groups. That makes
you sign up for it. You can ask questions, and you'll have rebels and other people like you that are just, hey, can somebody answer this question that I see? And I'm not sure. And you might get too many responses, but
if you're not doing anything in July, come out for BC Overland Rally in Kelowna.
Yes, we've been talking about trying to get her over here for.
That might happen.
There will be the Rebelle Trials. So if you really think you'd like to do it, that is a great way to go, you know what? Let's try it.
Yeah.
Let's see what it's all about. Low cost, easy done, right here in Canada, done.
Yeah.
And you get to meet Emily there as well, too. And any ladies out there, if you have any thoughts about the going to the Rebelle Rally, after talking to her for 10 minutes, you'll be all in. She is such a motivational lady. She is,
That's what happened to Lisa.
My husband is now the passenger in our truck all the time.
It's been a true blessing talking to you ladies. We're talking with Liza and Sue from the Toy Divas, as I mentioned earlier, .com, as well as on Facebook and Instagram. And they've mentioned it throughout the show. Anytime if any of you have any questions about the Rebelle Rally, they'll be more than happy to answer any questions. We could go on all night talking about this, but unfortunately, we do have to cut it off eventually. But it's something that we could definitely go on all night talking about. I'm sure you ladies have some incredible stories about the event itself and some incredible memories and good ones and not so good ones. And
maybe.
So this is a unique opportunity, especially for 2024 with the Rebelle trials coming to Canada, and not only that, but to British Columbia, and not only that, to Kelowna area.
Yeah.
So
you might get to meet us.
So if you're in Western Canada and you've been hearing about the Rebelle Rally and you think it might be something you're interested in, this is a great one-day start to see if this is something that you'd really like to do.
Yeah. And that's live, I believe they said February 1st. So if you go to rebellerally.com, you'll probably see the announcement for that one there. We don't know all the details yet, so we're a little sketchy because they haven't been given to us yet. But
we don't know if it's just going to be a one-day trial or whether they're going to tack on the usual 2-day navigation,
or if it's going to be one day. We don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah.
We'll all find out on February the 1st.
Please don't be late. I want to know.
It's only 2 weeks away, right? So
I know. Can't wait.
Ladies, it's always a pleasure talking to you. I know I can't wait to see you guys again at the BC Overland Rally in July. And I know last year when I did see you, I promised I would come back and talk to you again. I was on a mission, and unfortunately, I was quite overwhelmed at the rally. I know Trisha has the same thing with the Overland North events in Ontario. And you probably have the same thing. You see so many people, and every time you turn around, you're seeing people. And I'm almost at the point of talking to Ray about having a little area for campfires. We can have a 4x4 Canada podcast sit down one night or something like that, right?
Amazing. Yes.
A 4x4 Canada podcast meet and greet or something at the BC Overland.
Absolutely.
Do one of the tents.
Yeah.
They have all those little, the different spots.
They do it during the day, but I don't think they have anything at night.
Other than the giveaways.
It's the giveaway and the campfire. So no, they stop at a certain time.
Yeah.
They're around the campfire. Do it around a campfire.
Yeah, we'll see, because I found that quite difficult. You've seen so many different people, and then you see people afterwards, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't know you were there," and I'm like, "I didn't know you were there," and all that.
Yeah,
so it's definitely a fun event for sure.
You hadn't come and found me. It's me too, because I was leading the trail run, so I was always like in and out of camp so much.
Yeah. I just happened to be walking by with some friends, and I'm like, okay, I actually saw you there because I did look over a few times and you weren't there. So I had to go over and say hi. But once again, Can Toy Divas on Facebook, Instagram. It's been an absolute blast talking to you ladies. And I'm really looking forward to talking to you again soon, hopefully before the BC Overland Rally. And it's been a pleasure.
It has been. Thank you, Wes.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Trisha.
And thank you for joining.